As you grow old, I have done my practice for so many years. Now the time comes, when you have to surrender. And in that surrender, there are a lot of lessons that you have learned all along your life. You see that they are all separate for your own thought, but eventually they all become one. And I think that's what architecture, planning, or life is, or career is. But finally, it's all one. And to me, that is what is most exciting. Because in that one, there are all the lessons. And those lessons tell you that all the spaces, all the structures, all the things, that you want to see, you visited temples, you visited buildings, you visited palaces. But finally, when you want to ask questions, where is that architecture? It is in that spirit of becoming one. Wind, sun, shadows, light, courtyard, structures, forms, everything. But everything eventually has to be only one. And that one is connected to those who witness and those who come to see it. Then only it touches the heart of everyone. And that is the time true architecture happens. That true architecture is merging with everybody, everything around, and in silence telling that you and me are not different. You may be mobile, I may be static, but finally we are the same. The beauty of Sarkhej is several centuries have happened, but that building has not changed, but we feel almost new every time we come because it has a dialogue with our inner core. Are we really talking about a dialogue between that space and our child and our livelihood and our dreams? That's why the architecture doesn't become alive. Buildings become only alive when there is a dream. There is that hidden aspiration. There is that longing. And that longing, for something which we are searching. And look at the amount of diversity that is there in one panel. I mean, if you look at it, there are how many panels, but look, each panel, there are 4 maybe, but 4, 5, then every time you see something else. So there is a standard and there is a variation. There is a multiplication and there is an exception. Pause. Where are the pauses in our buildings? Do we pause at all? Do we disappear and reappear? So Sarkhej Roza to me is a great lesson. 600 years they knew how to collect water, how to create a tank, how to create places for public and private, reverences and social structure, gathering and moving. And I think that is why this Roza to me has always been very important. I have been seeing it for the last 60 years. I remember once I came here and it was a sunlight and it was the beginning of monsoon. And suddenly, and there was a water here, the water was there always full. So you could imagine the shadow, the reflections and the light and the sun shining and the movement of water. And suddenly the clouds came and then they burst and the sky became blue. And what was it like? But we were sitting there alone and watching this change. It's like another world. The static became dynamic. The stories became real. And you are actually an illusion. Strange. Are we really an illusion or are we permanent? Actually, what we think is ourselves, we are absolutely temporary. We don't even think about, nowadays we don't think about death, You go and send the fellow to the hospital inside and he goes to ICU and then he says, oh no, he's no more there, finished. Okay, it's all gone. Can I go back to my work? I have a commitment. That's my life. There is no pain. There is no loss. There is no longing. And after 2 hours, we are back to our mobile and doing transactions globally. So, value for money, value for time, value for our sensitivity, value for our thinking, value for our future, value for our past. I think there is nothing left. So how can we expect architecture with value which is inner? How would you get this kind of odd space here and you get only hard soft light and hard light and then these columns in semi-light? The drama will not happen. This drama can only happen when you have a drawing and you have this dream and you are trying to create that dream through your design. And your hand is moving and you are visualizing these spaces and then you feel the sunlight coming. You feel shivered, you feel something and that says push the column there, and then you would place the column there. So that instinct, that sensitivity, like they play guitar, they play music, so they are connected to that string and that little senses on the tips. That doesn't happen. Why we can't do like this work? Do we have time? Boy. do we have... We don't think of time, but we also say we don't have time. How come? And what is always wonderful, we don't get connected because we don't have time to pause. આપણે રાહ નથી જોતા ને કોઈ બેસતા નથી અહીંયા 2 મિનિટ બેસી અહીંયા આરામથી જોઈએ દુનિયા વરસાદ છે વાદળા છે. So atmosphere is the key of architecture. How do we create an atmosphere which would take you into another mood, and that mood would create unexpected thoughts, and the thoughts would have to unravel stories which are buried deep inside. And in those stories you remember your childhood or your other episodes and you become suddenly one. Thought, idea, story, memory, association and instinct. It's exactly like having a good meal and you have a burp. You have a good meal and you have a burp and then you say, what a wonderful meal I had. That's what it is. It is fantastic.
Fantastic.
this building is the cause of my being in Ahmedabad. Whole my life starts here. I had worked on this project in Paris and I came back to Ahmedabad. First time I came to Ahmedabad to supervise this building, and then I settled down. So for me it's a fountainhead. It is my life source. Come. It's the most important thing, this ramp. It is almost like a big shake hand, you stretch your arm and you reach to the building and look at the river afterwards. Nobody has ever done such a building. This is one of the most important buildings in the world. And when Frank Gehry came here, he mentioned that this is the fountainhead of architecture. It's such a great building. A building without doors and windows. A building dedicated to sun, rain, wind, birds. It's almost like the great ancient buildings, monuments in India, but most contemporary. Nobody has ever done a building like this. This is Corbusier's great offering to the city of Ahmedabad. When I had to design this building, Corbusier gave me an envelope, yellow envelope, and a little sketch, one-line sketch. And then there was a written that there is going to be Aatma building, Ahmedabad May Textile Mill Owners Association, president, vice president, boardroom, staff, and a little scribble. And that scribble had an inclined line, then a building on top, and on the other side a dip, and then said river. And he says, now you design the building. That's how my journey began, from nothing. So it was the lesson that I learned, that how do you respect land? How do you respect the place? How do you respect climate? And how do you create something which is not only enigmatic, but something which is always mesmerizing? And I think this building has that character. And I think this is something which I learned, that building also has stories, building also has memories, building also has a dialogue with the land, with the place, with the climate, with culture. And I think this is really what is the lesson of architecture. Connectivity, rooting, and inviting things. The birds can fly, the air can come, the sun can come. So there's a dialogue with the cosmic forces, like the mosque that we saw. There are all kinds of people who come here. It's a place which is a welcome place, almost like a temple. It can be flexible, it can be used in many ways. These are the presidents, of the Ahmedabad Textile Mill Owners Association. And all these tells you the story. You can look at their dresses, their faces, their costumes, and you can see how over generation things have happened. Ahmedabad would not be existing the way it is or growing as it is without the participation of these people. Very generous, very forthright, and so much in love with the city and the people. And this is something which we miss in our country or our culture. How do you really remember those who made what we are today? This furniture was done by Janare in Chandigarh, and today these have become great artwork most expensive objects to collect. So this is really what a little building shows, but this is really the essence of what architecture is. Proportions, relationship to the land, and the simplicity by which it happens. An acrobat is no puppet. He devotes his life to activities in which, in perpetual danger of death, he performs extraordinary movements of infinite difficulty with disciplined exactitude and precision, free to break his neck and bones be crushed. Nobody asked him to do this. Nobody owes him any thanks. He lives in an extraordinary world of the acrobat. Result, most certainly, he does things which others cannot. 51 to 54, I worked with him in Paris. One of the jobs toward the end was this job, which was given to me, and total freedom and challenge for me. And that has really made me what I am. I always remember the acrobat. My first project where I think I got something was Shreyas school. Because in that Shreyas school, the children were very young, short, teachers are very tall. How do you make a room where a child also will feel it proper and also the grown-up would feel that? And that is why the roof became straight and inclined. Second, when you make this room, do you really create something by which you give them a glimpses of nature? You are sitting, squatting on the floor, or you are sitting on the chair, or you are standing high. I think in that little room, one room, you get variety of scales, and the openings were made in such a way that you can control the light and shade, so you can really play with it and you can create your own world. So my first building, and I think luckily it became successful, was Shreyas. First of all, there is no corridor in that campus. Corridor means that it's a restricted movement, and the second is that you are going from one place to the other. When you walk through the nature, you may have tired, you may be exhausted, but suddenly you see the bird, or you see a snake, or you see the blossom of the flowers, and you begin to forget. You are a child, you are playing. And you reach the class, the laboratories or something else, but you have lost, but you have not got strength. And I think I learned that from Shreyas because I saw this happening. I have eyes, I have ears, I have a nose to smell, I have a mouth to speak and sing, I have a skin which I can touch. The breeze that comes, suddenly when it is hot and I feel comfortable. Now all these things, are already there. Does an architect try to make something with them, or he ignores them completely? So when you make an air-conditioned, comfortable room with all glass, looking nature, you are still uncomfortable because you are not made aware about your inner senses. Element of surprise is very, very important in architecture. Like people talk, no? All these people who talk these 4 hours, 5 hours, religious sermons, how many examples they give on the way? And I think all those examples only hold you. They are really points of release, and they really give you. So rhythm is very important. So space, does the space have rhythms? Does the space have dialogues? Does the space has outer and inner relationships? Does the space have relationship with anyone who enters that space? Now we never talk about dialogue in architecture. God's grace, it's a gift. I had not expected that this would happen now because times change, you change, other things change. So to me it was the greatest gift of my life, my career. Because when somebody like the jury of the Prtizker family or the award committee recognizes that what I am doing has meaning, I am very, very honored and pleased. And most important thing is it talks about the empowering people, housing. And I think the award has institutions and housing, etc. So it talks about connection with people, connection with society, connection with concerns. And all this is bringing together that how can we get into a holistic image of a society in which there are more and more fragmentations now. And I think that was probably the answer. I mean, one of the answers. Aranya became even for me, and when it was done, I had lot of trouble, I had lot of opposition, the newspapers were there, other people thought because they came from different places, different regions of India, different castes, different religions, different attitudes to life, maybe philosophy, and I was putting them in one basket. But today when you go there, you discover that people are deep inside, it's a soul. That soul is the same, kindness, gentleness, openness, sharing, reverence, togetherness. And I think these are the essential elements, of life. So everybody expressed them because we had never robbed them of their independence. So they choose what they want to do. They had priorities of their economies, and circumstantial situations gave them new solutions. So architect was not talking about predetermined expressions. There are no my expressions. It is actually an expression of the way of life at that moment and hope. We have compartmentalized our theory. We think architecture is building and this way. This is the only way this can happen. Actually, if you travel in India and look at those villages and remote places, you find that there are most unexpected solutions. Because everybody wants to survive and everybody wants to celebrate. And I think when they want to celebrate, they will find the ideal way to do. There have been places I have seen in Kutch, etc., that mud house, but putting that little white color, paint, on an opening with their hand, with a brush, I think changes completely the whole place. So grace is inherent in us, talent is inherent in us, but we restrict it and we say it is not our way, therefore it is not right. I think it taught me a lot of lessons of not only humility, but grace is everywhere. Talent is everywhere. Music is everywhere. We don't have the same eyes to see it. That's the problem. I had also grown by that time, and I found that it was chaotic, it was different. But when I see it now, after so many years, and I see their relationship and smile on their face, I feel, that I was talking about a wrong, egoistic, professional theory. I have no right to make a judgment. I want to know, are they living happily? Are they rejoicing? Are they really enjoying what they have done? I think that's what it is. My prerogative is only to look at that and not to make a condemnation saying this is not in this style, this is not what I would prefer. Who are you? Your life is your own. I mean, it's like hippie movement. It's another movement where you allow people to grow like nature grows. If you want nature to blossom, don't prune it, don't touch it, don't graft it. I don't think so. We are always trying to look at it through our eyes, through our own conventions and our attitudes, and we make judgments and then we get frustrated. Who are you to make judgment on somebody else? He knows when he will die. I mean, no child will cross the road if they know that there's a car coming out. Accident is another story, but purposefully nobody does. And I think if we do that, there will be a lot more harmony. There are socio-political, cultural prejudices, and those are the ones which dominate our life, which is wrong. Freedom, choice, and celebration. Everybody has a right to celebrate their life. Soul is in everybody. So why are we thinking anything else? It's a universal phenomenon. So love, compassion, help, support, create, and rejoice. Most important thing is anybody should all the time be aware about the wonders of the unknown and diverse situations which are there, which exist. So it is not only you alone. There is a world far beyond you. First thing to talk to children is take them to the unmeasurable world, unexpected world. That is how my children were groomed. I think one of the most important things that has happened today is we have been totally disconnected with nature, natural diversity, and nature's diversity in various lives, animals, plants, forests, seasons, blossoms. It's a quite interesting phenomenon of nature, how cyclic orders work, how seasons work, why there are festivals? Because we want to, what you call, celebrate the occasion, because you had never thought about it that now there's going to be blossom or a fragrance. And when there is something to do, you create a ritual to clean the house. So you have Holi. So you create out of that negative thing into something positive. So we have so many celebrations in India. We are continuously celebrating in India. We have all the time holidays, but that is one of the strengths which has made this place happen. That is why you have music and you have dance and you have singing and then you do what you want to do, you dress up. I think we only think, I don't know, there are other cultures, perhaps Japan, yes. There are seasonal dresses which are tied up with climate, tied up with music, tied up with stories and tied up with myths. Why do we have so many myths in India? How can Ravan have 10 heads? How can Ganesha have so many hands, or Vishnu? There are Sahasrarjun who had 1,000 arms. What kind of stories are these? And we have that myth. That myth is what is keeping us going. All the myths of Krishna are what? Krishna's, how many myths are there? Innumerable myths of Krishna, and strange ones, Like those gopis are there, and they are taking a bath and Krishna comes and steals their clothes and he is sitting on top. Now he is a god. So for him there are no other ideas. He is playing a game only. We have forgotten to play games in our life. We have forgotten to have surprises in life. We don't want surprises. We want a routine, mechanical life. So what do you expect? So when I was doing Sangath, I said, should I not really do something by which I can cheat the client? So he should not find me. Then it should look like a village. The other thing is that it should look like a play place. So I made a pond, and then I thought of maybe one day when it was built, I thought I should get a woman, because in Vishala I saw a woman with clay sitting in the kitchen. I said it will be a nice idea to have on the pond a woman made of clay. So I had to call Dinesh Mehta. And Dinesh, I said, look, you come and take a photograph, and I'm going to get a Rabari woman, sit there, and also with a buffalo. So after a long time, I could find a woman and a buffalo, and she came, and the buffalo was not willing to come into the place. But anyway, and then Dinesh is running behind and all. And while the woman sat, the buffalo pulled, and broke the glass here. And what a joke. But I wanted to really feel that whole thing is like a stage. Do we really have an ability to think that we are all the time looking at theatre, at drama, something which is not there? How can they write a Ramayana and Mahabharata, How is it possible? How is it possible that there is Ganesh avatar, then there is Shivji and Parvati, and they are in the Himalayas, and then you talk about the seasonal changes. So all these things, to me are very, very important. Myth. And I think myth will release you completely. It might starve you for a while, but it will release you and you will feel very happy. And so for me, myth is as important as anything else. So all my buildings begin with the myth because I don't want to do what I know. Most important thing, whatever I know, I don't want to do. If I can't do it, I should better quit. And then I think I am a student disciple of my guru, Corbusier. And if Corbusier can challenge himself, should I not challenge? It was a recapitulation of my memory of my visit to the pyramids, where I had seen the studio of Vijayawasif. and I saw the huge giant pyramid, unmeasurable, and here is a tiny house, but beautifully done, in which there were crafts, there were children, there was a museum, there was a pottery, and all this I found was full of life in spite of dryness, in spite of nothing around. And I think that's what really affected me. So when I designed the office building, I thought I have to do something as if it is blooming from there, blossoming. That came from that one little incident which happened after I left Corbusier, and on my way to India I travelled via Egypt, and that was in 1954. That was opening my eyes that you can find something else which is rooted, growing, alive and intimate. If you treat everything as a living organism, then your participation becomes very easy, because you treat everybody as almost equal, but you know that everybody has a capacity to contribute. And that was the reason I always worked with many people. I associated them and I worked with them as equal, and slowly they also grew and I also grew and my work grew. So that is really what the whole purpose is. I believe participation is the essential element in life, sharing. Often one thinks about life and the journey of life. So one day when I was working in Jabalpur, I went to Narmada, fantastic river, and I was thinking about the source of the river. So I asked people in Jabalpur, and then I said I'll go to Amarkantak. I think that's where the Narmada, the beginning is, the origin of Narmada. So I decided to go there. It's a hill around, you go high up. And I didn't see a trace of anything. There was nothing, just rocks. So I asked somebody there, I found out a fellow, and I said, "Can you tell me where Narmada is?" So he looked at me and he says, "Come." And he takes me to a little place with the rocks, boulders, and he opens one of the pieces, and there I saw a very small dampness. And then suddenly I saw a drop coming down. He says, "This is Narmada." To me it was a shock, because I had seen Narmada very near, in Jabalpur, around that marble rock place, violent, big, with great glory, and here I see almost nothing. Then I began to think about it, and I was wondering how life and the sources happen. The unknown, the unexpected, the untouchable, you can only sense. So then I began to think about Narmada, and then I went a little further, and then I found a little puddle. The chap showed me, another place a little away. I walked, and there I saw a little puddle there. He says, this is the same Narmada what you saw there. And then I began to think, and that made me think about many things about life, the childhood, the beginnings, and the other things. How innocent we are when we are children, helpless, unconscious, semi-conscious, not even knowing the world at all. And so we have no bearings, and that's what really is the origin of life is. But then slowly you begin to become aware, you speak and you start running, and then you recognize people and all that. But still you are yourself, and I thought Narmada is like that also. The water has its own identity. And when it becomes a little rivulet, a stream, little drops and things like this, it is itself always holding the earth, like the Mother Earth, and going around, but it is small together, and it is trying to make itself one identity, the self-identity. And then that identity continues, then naturally the one stream, and then there is another one, during the monsoon, another stream comes in and they join together, but yet they are all identical. They are all together, but they are not one. They are separate, together. And then as it goes further, I began to think about it, that how identities change, how flow changes, how merging happens. And in that merging is really the story of our lives, our own consciousness, because you become conscious and you have your own identity and you say, I am P. And then when the Narmada and the rivers come, and when they flow together, and they come and then they gather, slowly that becomes a stream, and that stream is also all the time holding the earth. And there is an identity, I am this, I am that. When they become together, and when that Sangam comes, after a long journey, they are together, but their identity is still there, and they don't want to mix, they don't want to merge. That's how we are when we are grown up. But then eventually, when that identity happens, work happens, your career happens, but one day, without knowing, you are going to get old. And the river also gets into bigger streams, and it becomes much larger, because then there are many rivers which come and called confluence of rivers, Triveni. It is still a Sangam, it is meeting together. And now the identities become together with many more. But the whole idea is, what is the way, how does the river know that river has to go to the ocean? That is the end, that is the beginning. Now the Sangam has to be merging with the ocean. And so when it comes there, very near, not very far, but still distant, many rivers become big, one river. And that one river, when it comes, it has its own power, strength, glory, like the Ganges. And when that Ganges comes to the ocean, and when it comes to farther there is that question that, do I now submerge with the ocean? Do I have to surrender and become part of the unknown? Or I should just hold myself? And I think the speed changes, there is a hesitation, puddles, slow, fast movements, and even the landscape changes at that time. Landscape is becoming slowly flat and flat. Also the slope, without the slope you don't happen it is. But when it comes very close to the ocean, I think that is the point when surrender begins to happen. How do you really merge? How do you surrender your identity? And that time, the river almost becomes quiet, becomes thinner and thinner and thinner. And slowly, with the waves that come in, and the river goes inside, and they become one. And I think that is really what life is about. when you really done things, when the journey comes to that, you surrender everything so that you become part of the whole world, reversed. You have become universal, but without knowing where, what, how you are. You are part of one whole. Actually, I am reading a very strange book. You may like to read that book called Still Dancing, Stillness or something. There are 4 or 5 people, who have gone through meditation. And they go through this whole episodes. A beautiful book. And they all have become saints, they are all realized souls. So they talk about this kind of an issue, that how does one get into this situation, how they got in, so that Kali, the awakening inside and that trauma that goes through. But the whole idea is we are too much connected with ourselves. So you are not allowing your real self, the universal self, to be part of you. Supposing that next project that you get, you say, I'm going to do what I don't know. And I have not gone ever to architecture. But I was in a circus where all kinds of animals and people and everything was there. What would you do? They want to do a house or an office or a school. If it is a school, you will say, my God, the tiger is coming from there, children are running there, and the faculty is there, and the monkey jumps from there. Supposing that you saw all these crazy things happening, and then you decided to do the building, you will get some kind of swing like this, going to the infinite place, and somewhere, you are finding a little rope, from there somebody is climbing down, and there, there's a well that you can go down. All those things will happen, and supposing that if one drew these things, do you know those sections, what fantastic sections you will get? But then we'll say, how do I build it? What will be the estimate? And who will do this? And not possible. So we start with no. You tell me, Gufa, how the hell it can happen? I think very often about the Gufa. I said, what kind of mind I had that time that I could do that Gufa. The work is going on, the drawings are different from the work, the construction is made differently, and they bring this this steel structure, and that structure is put hanging there. One column is there, one column is here. And now Ranga Rao is telling me, sir, what shall we do? I said, bring a bamboo stick. I said, where is the column? There. I said, okay. Then let's put the bamboo, you hold here. Then I would say, but you want that curve, no? So I will press this here, I will press and say, this curve is all right now. So you get the curve like this. Now the column is here. Then I said, but now you have to hold and go like this. And then I shape it. was thinking, I want to get into that state, How did I read those columns, these shapes? And I tell you, when this was all done, this is a whole thing round below. I come from outside somewhere, I was out of town. I said, let me go to the Gufa, and I went there. Structure is, not China mosaic, but the structure is done and this whole roof is like, floor is like this. I forgot about it. 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. I go there and I slipped because it was slope, no? My God, I said, my God. So I called the fellow and I said, get 20 trucks of sand. And I filled the sand, but then I had thought about the slope. Then I said, I'm on the seashore, and then I made the slope. And when I was doing these slopes to meet this curve and this curve, how do you put this junction? Then I remembered Varaha Avatar in Khajuraho, where Vishnu is going, Varaha comes and picks up Vishnu's wife, like this. So that sculptor has made a shape like this of the leaf, of the stone. He chiseled the stone like this and comes like this, and the flat stone happens, as if that leaf is free. And I did that curvature. I must be in trance only. Time and energy are unmeasurable. Unmeasurable, you don't see them, only you experience them. So best way is let it pass. Who cares? Our problem is our connection with past and future. Remove both.
Remove both.
Past.
Ignore both.
Ignore both. There is nothing like time. It's all notional. What they say today right, tomorrow they say wrong. A historian will come and say this is all useless. Primitive drawing on the wall hangings, the rock-cut temples and all that, or you go to Ellora and others and you see those sculptures and all that, nobody knows, really how it happened. How can that elephanta, Ellora carving can happen from top and come down? That completely shook me. That has shaken me completely. What kind of a thing, 5th generation, 6th generation, 10th generation, and now he knows where the camera is, and in between there is a rock. And at that camera there is this kind of figure. and he's carving from here. It is not there. How does he do that? And he does it so perfect. I mean, the Ravan comes, with that Sita Haran on the chariot, and it's a little fresco there, like this sculpture. But you see this Ravan going, and that Sita and everything, and that Garudni, but the other birds are. Yeah. How can he draw and do that? I don't understand. I don't understand the figures. I don't understand that this little carving and that eye, and then the look and the expression of the figures. How can you draw deities, whether it's a Lakshmi or it's a goddess Saraswati, and the posture like this? How does he know that? And then this is all hollow. How does he carve? I saw two sculptures in Washington Museum years ago. They were the king and the queen from Burma, Thailand or somewhere. This figure, full size. And I looked at them, marvel. What beautiful, and suddenly I see that there was a drape and the breeze was flowing. And they were touched somewhere, and then that muslin moved like this. What is it? How does he know that this lady, the goddess or the queen, is now standing there and a breeze is touching her body? Those things have shaken me up completely. I can't believe this. And that is why I believe that you allow yourself to just leave loose as much as possible. Your hand moves like this, let it go. If the hand says, now go there, you go there. If it says draw a line, the hand will stop there. It's not your hand. Pondicherry has a temple, Matru Mandir, and they wanted to have the sacred, what you can call sacred elements there. And so Sundaram, the great poet, he said we should do this, and he had an initiation from mother that at this point we have to do. So he was actually observing flowers, this, that, etc. And he says in another, I can see, he says, mother is showing me this. But I was thinking that what is it that has there, how does one realize this? So I made a first project in which I said, first of all, you hear somebody talking. So you come to a place and it is open, and then there is a dialogue, and you sit there, and there's a platform, and then there are columns, regular thing. And you hear and you get curious about these mystic experiences and knowledge. But then you are haunted by it, so then you say, okay, let me read the books. Then you go to the place and there is a library, an exhibition, so you go through that place. And then you begin to still say, but what is all this? So then you go to the place where your inner spirit is awakened, and so you go inside or go down, and then there is a little light coming in. And you suddenly looked at that light and it hit you here, and your kundalini became a little aware. So this was the initial. So there are phases of this, and I drew. Then finally I said, I'll do circle only, and a cone, and then a wrapper. That thing happens, no? That whole cover. Circle is here at the corner, and then the whole thing covers like this, and it goes. like that. And then on top there is a light, and that light, I put a star, so when that proper light comes, that star is floating in the sun. That's how I did, and I wanted to know if I do this and if this energy is there, what kind of experiences would happen. I think a lot of people feel good about it. Takes a long time. Long time. But one thing I have decided from day one, I will never repeat a project because I am doing it for myself. And second, I would like to do what I don't know. Actually, the whole idea is how do you create a place and how do you create that place which eventually becomes a magnet where you would like to stay on. First time, you hear something. Sometimes then you come back and you listen to somebody and then you sit down there and ponder over what he was saying, or maybe his words or something affects you. Then you see you look for his career, his literature, his photographs, his life. This is how we develop one by one. And then finally, then you want to go there because you are attracted. So you go through the whole space. There is a meandering positionings of movement. And then you come to this place. So there is an inner transformation which is expressed, into a physical reality, and then gradually you come here and you sit here. But you have to sit here for a long time, at least half an hour, 40 minutes. So slowly there is nothing else, it's a silence. And then maybe you realize the colors of the flowers, or maybe you smell the fragrance. Awakening is not measurable. So it can happen, it may not happen, but there will be people here who would tell you they heard so many things, something happened to them, then there are inquiries, then there are other relationships with the family, society, business, this, that. They get happiness, they get solutions, they get guidance. As you grow old, I have done my practice for so many years. Now the time comes, when you have to surrender. And in that surrender, there are a lot of lessons that you have learned all along your life. You see that they are all separate for your own thought, but eventually they all become one. And I think that's what architecture, planning, or life is, or career is. That finally, it's all one. And to me, that is what is most exciting. Because in that one, There are all the lessons. And those lessons tell you that all the spaces, all the structures, all the things that you want to see, you visited temples, you visited buildings, you visited palaces. But finally when you want to ask questions, where is that architecture? It is in that spirit of becoming one. Wind, sun, shadows, light, courtyard, structures, forms, everything, everything. But everything eventually has to be only one, and that one is connected to those who witness and those who come to see it. Then only it touches the heart of everyone. And that is the time true architecture happens. That true architecture is merging with everybody, everything around, and in silence telling that you and me are not different. You may be mobile, I may be static, but finally we are the same.